Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Neighborhood with your hosts, Tim Johnson and Stacy Borho. Together, they are finding out what makes the heart of the Heartland beat. They sit down with people in your community that lead organizations, businesses, and government. You'll learn who they are and what they're involved in and why. They are the people in your neighborhood. It's In the Neighborhood with Stacy Borho and Tim Johnson.
Colo, everybody. Okay, I had to put that out there. Hi, everybody. My name is Tim Johnson and
Stacy Borho.
And we have Suzanne Miller. She's a Maloof realtor. Yes, two different companies sitting at the same table. And Wendy Lewis, Connection Support Group. What is Connection Support Group?
Connection Support Group is a support group that we started. I co-facilitate with another survivor. So once a month on Monday evenings, we get together to talk about colorectal cancer. We are survivors. And I found that after my journey, I felt alone and I had no one to talk about everything that I was dealing with. And so it has really evolved into something great.
So we're talking about colon health.
Yes.
So Colo, that's what the joke was. So sorry if you're the inside joke, but Colorectal
March
cancer.
is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month,
Wonderful.
right? And so the color is blue for.
And I am out, so I
That's
just
okay.
yeah.
That's okay. You have water bottle, but
Yeah,
sometimes
I got the water bottle. See?
Right. Sometimes colorectal cancer is not talked about very much. Of course, just maybe because it might be a little bit awkward, or whatever. There's barriers, and so. I'm involved in a nonprofit called CRC Life, and the mission is to promote screening awareness and support other survivors in our community.
It goes back to high school.
Yeah.
You know, all the jokes and that's why it's hard, especially for guys, to really talk about it.
Definitely.
You know, so.
But obviously it doesn't just impact guys,
That's right.
right? But that's a big assumption, isn't it?
It is, and some people still believe that. Even when we approach people now, they'll say, "Oh, yeah, well, my husband," or they'll talk about men, and women sometimes think that it doesn't affect them, and it does. And the screening age is 50 right now in order for, in the guidelines, for you to get a colonoscopy. But it does happen earlier, so you need to know what the symptoms are, and you need to know what your family history is. So it is important to, talk about.
So is it hereditary then?
It can be.
Okay.
My dad had colorectal cancer, and then so did my grandfather and an uncle. And so I had a genetic test done, and I have what they call Lynch syndrome. And so that Lynch syndrome, I have a gene that is, it's a mismatch repair gene, and I have an 80% chance of, a higher chance of getting certain types of cancer than someone without Lynch syndrome.
Okay. How would one know all this stuff?
Well, I went in for a colonoscopy, and usually when you have a first-degree relative that has polyps or that has colorectal cancer, you go 10 years before that relative. That's when you're usually screened. And so I did that, and I was clear, and that was fantastic news. But then I started to have symptoms, and that's kind of when you kind of start to wonder, oh, is something going on? And what are those symptoms? So those symptoms can be blood in the stool, they can be bloating, I had a lot of fatigue, it can be cramping, and so those are things you need to be aware of. Weight loss, pencil thin stools. So I went to my GI doctor and I scheduled a colonoscopy, and this is like within 2 years, and I was already at a stage 3. And so sometimes with Lynch syndrome, the polyps can be flatter, but once I was diagnosed, I was at a stage 3, and I went ahead with a standard of care procedures, and I had chemotherapy and radiation, and then I did surgery, and then I did an additional oral chemo. And now it's been 5 years this March that I had my surgery, and I am cancer-free. So,
Yay.
yeah, so that's good.
You were how old? when
And
that
I was
happened?
only 42 when I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
And it is more and more common for people under 50 to be diagnosed. And so, tell us your story, Susan.
Well, don't call me Susan, it's Suzanne.
Suzanne.
No, I get.
Yeah. Tell
Sorry.
us your story, Suzanne.
Thank you, Wendy. So good to be here. So I'm, as a lot of my family and friends say, I'm one of the healthiest people they know. I like to run, and I like to eat well and take care. And so I started having some issues where there was blood and stool, and was training for a marathon, and I'm like, maybe it was something I ate. I don't know. I was only 40, and I called the doctor. I'm like, some issues. I think I should come in. And they know that in my family history, we have Crohn's, we have IBS, we have cancer in my family, but not like that. So went in, and they couldn't really tell what was going on, so they referred me to a gastro, and he's like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just do a colonoscopy. And I thought, I'm only 40, that shouldn't, but okay, if I have to. And so I had it done, and they found a mass. They found a few polyps, and they took part of the mass out. The other part they couldn't because it was too hard. And then they found that it was a stage 1 cancer. So I had it removed, and I was very lucky. I didn't have to have any treatment. I had my year checkup, because that happened November of 2016. And then I had my checkup December of 2017, and I'm all clear. There's nothing coming back. Even though they told me you don't have to come back for 3 years, to have a colonoscopy. I'm like, oh, I'm coming back every year. Just because, it isn't that I enjoyed having a colonoscopy, I was out cold, but just knowing that I had it and that it can happen again, and especially at the age I am. I mean, I'm only 42. I have many years left. I knew that it was not my time, so. I have a family. I have a daughter that's learning how to drive. So, that's
Not stressful at all.
No, but, it's something that we need to get out there, because a lot of people are like, wait, you had what?
Right?
How old are you? And it isn't the average, oh, it's a man who's 58. But when you see something that is not right, that your body is telling you, you cannot wait, because if I wouldn't have, it would have been a totally different outcome. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things to get out there. That.
Did you have a family history?
So my mother has had kidney cancer twice, and my grandmother had breast cancer. And then I have an uncle who ironically is a colorectal surgeon, not here. But and he's amazing. Hi, Uncle Lowell. He had lung cancer and prostate cancer. So there was cancer in our family, but not colorectal. I'm told that a great aunt had it like years ago. Like she was like 28. So, but back then you didn't talk about it.
Right.
Even like back like in the early 80s, it was like, ooh, cancer.
The C word.
C word, yeah.
Yeah, I can remember being in a music store and some old guy comes up to me and kind of corners me in between some books things, and he's like telling me his life history. He's like, yeah, and they took out my full tailpipe and everything, and it's like, there's more information than I need to know. But no, for me, my mom had easy for me to say, colorectal cancer, and she had Crohn's, and so we all know about it in our family, and I went, and I'm like, I need to be checked. I'm around the same age, about 42. I need to be checked. And they're like, referred me off to gastro and
Enterologist. Yeah.
Big words, great stuff.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're pretty young, are you having symptoms? And, they really wanted to screen me and wanted me to wait. But I'm like, I need to have this checked. So I've had it done twice. I need to have it done again here real soon. I'm overdue. So I've known this is coming. I'm going, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. But no, it's not that bad. Really. They put you out and you're out.
The worst part is the stuff you have to drink.
Yeah, let's
It
talk
tastes
about that a little bit, because I
horrible.
think that is one of the biggest
Yes.
barriers, is sometimes maybe making the appointment or the prep, and that people don't want to do that. And just the thought of the actual procedure, are you awake? No. The doctor put you out, you don't even feel anything, and you never even know that anyone was there. So,
Right.
yeah. And the new preps are so much easier. Do you remember?
They
Yeah.
may be easier, but they taste disgusting. I mean, I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest, but you have to do it in order for it to
They now
work
have,
its magic.
they have now pills that you can take rather than the gallon jugs, right? Is there?
Yeah, there is something like called a new pill cam type thing, and that is an option. And there are other options. There, is a fit test or an FOBT, and you can put a stool sample on a card and you can send it away. And that is definitely another option if you don't want to go the colonoscopy route. And once that comes back, if you're clean, you're good. If it does show possible blood in the stool, then you probably will then go and have to have a colonoscopy. But
So you have to have it anyway.
yeah,
So you might as well just get the colonoscopy done.
yeah,
Might as well not skip around or waste the time.
Yeah.
Especially if it means saving a life, right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So you kind of got involved, right?
Yes. After my journey with my cancer diagnosis, and it wasn't easy, and I had a lot of help from doctors and my church family and everyone around me in my community. But after my diagnosis, when it was all over with, I kind of wanted to get back into my new normal, and I struggled with that. And so I kind of called around, and I couldn't find any help. And I wondered, I was just kind of out of sorts and didn't know where I fit in. And because there were certain things that were still a struggle. My life wasn't going to be the same. There were certain things that were going to just be different. There were late-term chemotherapy effects. I was living with an ostomy. I have neuropathy in my feet. There are effects just from chemotherapy, and just, life is just going to be a little bit different. And so I met another nurse navigator from OSF. Her name was Amanda, and we kind of got together and we started asking around, and she sees a lot of different patients, and we started this Monday night evening group, and it's called Connections. And so another survivor and myself, it's kind of a survivor type group. We all kind of get together on Monday nights at the library, and it's kind of a peer support group, but we offer an educational section, and there's questions, and it's just so great for newcomers even, so they know they know what's upcoming, and we can ask each other's questions, and it's just nice to know that there's someone out there that's been through it and that you can lean on. And I just remember even, meeting Suzanne for coffee, and it's just nice to be able to reach out to someone who's been there. And one of the biggest positives about our community is that word of mouth is great, and organizations like yours and like this, Peoria Life, is just wonderful because people then will see this and they'll be able to reach out to us and say, oh, you know what, I could really use help with this, or, we'll push you to get your screening done. So it'll be great.
So how does someone reach out to you then?
They can reach out to us. We have a website that's kind of still in the making, but it's called crc-life.org. And so that's our website, and they can go there and get a hold of us, and we can gear you in the direction of the Connections support group. And we have tons of different events coming up that you can get involved in. And so we would love to have anyone come on board and help us out.
Is there a website or anything too that people can go to for those signs? Like if someone doesn't remember the signs that we shared today of
there will
what
be
to aware
some
of?
eventually on the website, but also we work closely like with Central Illinois Endoscopy Center or American Cancer Society. They all have really great websites that you can check back to, and that would list symptoms on what you should look for.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really nice sitting here with the Blue Women group. We're talking with Suzanne Miller and Wendy Lewis, and we're talking about Colo health. So make sure you go back and watch the rest of it. The thing that most people don't realize is that a lot of times insurance will cover having
Absolutely.
an exam done, right?
Yeah, as long-
Even I have lousy insurance, and they cover that as preventative maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
go out and get checked and get healthy. What else do people need to know about colon health?
I think it's definitely important to know your family history, and I would definitely not let drinking icky stuff prevent you from having the test. Those are definitely some barriers. It really can save your life, and you might have to take a day off work and bring a driver, but it's definitely worth it. That's definitely, you want to make sure that you get your colonoscopy. And CRC Life is here in Peoria and the surrounding Central Illinois area, and we are definitely here to help you out and to spread screening awareness and provide survivor support. So we would be glad to help anyone out.
So give us those symptoms again, basically, of what people might look for.
Sure. Colorectal cancer symptoms can be blood in your stool, thin pencil-like stools, weight loss, cramping, fatigue. I think those are some of the key ones. Yeah. Anything else, Suzanne?
Weight loss.
Weight loss, yeah. I was super tired, taking a nap every day after work, and those were mine, blood in the stool, but yeah.
Wow.
And if you see something that is odd or out of the ordinary, don't wait on it. Get checked.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter really how old you are,
Nope.
because there's been more and more of early age onset colorectal cancer, so you kind of just have to be aware of your body.
I've recently heard, too, that if you don't catch it early, it can be pretty disastrous pretty quick. So
Sure.
you want to catch it as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's definitely a preventable disease, and so if you get in there and remove those polyps, then, you're pretty safe.
And it's one that spreads quick.
Yeah.
So if you don't take care of yourself and if you don't get checked, it could be a different outcome than what you want.
Right. Right. Awesome. Well, that wraps up another episode. Thank you, both of you,
Thank you.
For coming on and talking about something that's not always the most easiest to talk about, but it's something that everybody needs to take care of.
Yep.
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
PeoriaLife.com